I never thought I'd see the day the invincible Duke Carlix Talisto would bow before anyone, let alone beg for his life. He's a man who survived countless battlefields, yet here he is, brought to his knees by a man who has never held a sword. I can feel the trembling in my own hands as the Emperor looms over us, his presence suffocating. In the chaos and the fear, a sudden, cold realization washes over me. The Emperor smiles, a twisted expression, as he reminds me that the child I'm carrying is of Karlik's blood. He says he's changed his mind. He won't let us live, not even for the sake of an unborn heir. The sound of the blade being drawn is the last thing I wanted to hear. He looks at me with such indifference, telling me to just die, as if my life meant nothing more than a stain on his carpet. The world begins to fade, and my last scream is lost in the darkness. 10 years ago, my life felt like it was just beginning, even if it was a beginning I didn't want. I was being sent to the East District, a place known for nothing but its biting cold and isolation. This marriage wasn't a choice, it was a royal decree, a sentence I had to accept with a bowed head. The whispers followed me everywhere. They wondered if the delicate daughter of Riarte could even survive such a wasteland. The East was everything they said it was, desolate, harsh, and so far removed from the warmth of the capital. I looked out at my new home and wondered if I would ever belong here, or if I would simply wither away. On our wedding night, I waited, but the Duke was already gone, called away to fight monsters on the border. The staff didn't hide their disdain. They told me he had no time to waste on a wife he didn't want. It was supposed to be our first night together, a start to a new life, however forced. The rejection stung more than the cold wind outside. Does he truly hate me this much? I sat in that massive, empty room, still in my wedding finery, feeling like a ghost in my own house. The next morning, my mother-in-law didn't waste any time. She demanded my dowry immediately. She claimed it was for the estate, but the way she looked at me told me she just wanted to strip me of everything I had. I tried to speak up, to ask for a small portion to manage my own affairs, but my voice failed me. She looked at me with such sharp contempt, offended that I would even question her authority. I flinched and backed down. I was a duchess in name only, a guest who had overstayed her welcome from day one. The servants gossiped behind my back, mocking the abandoned duchess who couldn't even get her husband to look at her. As the months passed, the neglect took its toll. I stopped caring about my appearance, about the prestige of my title. The poverty of the East wasn't just financial, it was emotional. I was freezing from the inside out. 2 winters had passed by the time Karlax finally returned from the war. The castle was in an uproar. He had achieved the impossible, fulfilling the Emperor's brutal demands. I stood in the crowd, my heart racing. I didn't even know what my own husband looked like anymore. Then I saw him, Karlax Talisato. He looked like a god of war, covered in the dust and blood of victory. He didn't even glance toward me. His eyes were fixed forward, cold and unreachable. That night, I drank to steady my nerves. I knew what was expected of us now that he was back. The door slammed open, and for a moment, I couldn't even breathe. He sat on the edge of the bed, the silence between us heavier than any armor he had worn. I flinched when he moved. Every gesture felt like a threat, even if he wasn't touching me. He reached out, his touch clinical and devoid of any warmth. It wasn't a romantic reunion, it was a duty. I closed my eyes and endured it, feeling more alone in his arms than I ever did in that empty room. Our first night together was nothing like the stories. It was hollow, silent, and deeply painful. Afterward, he sat there, mumbling to himself that things couldn't be turned back. He sounded just as trapped as I felt. I lay there under the covers, listening to his retreating footsteps, realizing my life was never going to change. But then, the sickness started, a constant, heavy nausea that I couldn't ignore. When the doctor confirmed I was pregnant, a spark of hope finally flickered in my chest. A baby, something that was mine, something that might finally give me a reason to stay. I told myself I wasn't alone anymore. I would protect this child with everything I had left. I even dared to hope that maybe, just maybe, this would change things between Carlix and me. Surely he would feel something for his own flesh and blood. He had to. The lamp flickered low the night I told him. The room felt smaller, the shadows longer. I started to speak, my voice trembling with a hope I hadn't felt in years, but he cut me off. "I never wanted a child," he said. The words were a physical blow to my heart. I looked at him, searching for any sign of a joke, any trace of softness. There was nothing. He turned away, leaving me to process the crushing weight of his rejection alone. I don't know why I expected anything else. He had been clear from the start. I was a burden, and now so was our child. Then came my last winter. The castle was under siege, flames licking at the stone walls. The Emperor's men were everywhere, their shouts of "Huzzah!" echoing through the smoke. They were here for the traitors. They were here for us. The Emperor had framed Carlix for treason. After everything he had sacrificed, this was his reward. We were dragged out like common criminals, the dignity of our titles stripped away in an instant. The Emperor sat on his throne, watching our downfall with a bored, cruel amusement. He mocked us for daring to show our faces, as if we had any choice in the matter. His eyes glowed with a sickening light. He was enjoying every second of our suffering. I tried to scream that it was a mistake, that we had no reason to commit treason, but no one listened. Then Carlix spoke. He didn't defend himself. He only said that I knew nothing of his affairs. He fell to his knees, begging the man he once served to let me live. I stared at him in shock. Why was he doing this? Why was he protecting me now? They threw us into the dungeon, the iron bars slamming shut with a finality that chilled my bones. In the dark, I finally found the courage to ask him, why did he protect me after all this time? He didn't answer at first. He just sat there, staring at the stone floor, looking more broken than I'd ever seen him. I realized then that I might have misunderstood him for 10 whole years. Was his coldness just a shield? "It was for the sake of the child," he finally whispered. His voice was thick with a regret he couldn't hide. He wanted his heir to live. He wanted some part of his legacy to survive the Emperor's wrath. I lashed out, fueled by years of resentment. Only now did he care, after saying he never wanted a child? The guards returned before he could answer. It was time. The execution wasn't a threat anymore. It was a reality. They dragged us toward the courtyard, the rough hands of the soldiers bruising my skin. I couldn't die like this, not while carrying a life that had done nothing wrong. I gripped my stomach, a silent promise to my baby that I would try one last time. I had promised to protect them. I had promised to be better than the world we lived in. I fell to my knees before the Emperor, begging for the life of my child, even if he took mine. But there was no mercy in his eyes, only the cold satisfaction of a predator who had finally caught his prey. He raised his sword, a sneer on his face as he told me to just die. The blade descended, a sharp, searing pain, and then a sudden, jarring gasp for air. In those final moments, I regretted everything. I regretted the silence, the fear, and the wasted years. I regretted that I had done nothing to change my fate until it was far too late to matter. As the light faded, I made one last wish. If I was given another chance, Just one more. My eyes snap open. I'm gasping, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I see a deer head on the wall. The air is warm, smelling of expensive perfume and fresh flowers. I'm in front of a mirror. Everything is bright, opulent, and terrifyingly familiar. I reach up, my fingers brushing against the fine lace of a wedding veil. I'm wearing a white dress. It's clean, expensive, and completely untouched by blood. I rush to the mirror, my breath catching in my throat as I see my own reflection. My face is young again. The lines of grief and the scars of the East are gone. It's impossible, but the mirror doesn't lie. I've gone 10 years back in time, to the day of my wedding. I sit there, the weight of the lace veil heavy on my head, my heart drumming against my ribs like a trapped bird. Is this real? Have I truly returned to the night it all began? I catch my reflection in the mirror, my eyes wide with a fear that belongs to a different lifetime. I can still feel the cold of the tower, the phantom pain of my end. A sharp knock at the door jolts me back to the present. Every instinct I have screams at me to hide, but I can't stay hidden forever. The door clatters open, and a voice I recognize far too well cuts through the silence. It's a voice that haunted my previous life. Grace, the head maid. In my past life, she was the primary architect of my misery, the loyal dog of my mother-in-law. She enters with the same cold, dismissive air she always had, treating me like a nuisance rather than the lady of the house. Seeing her face brings back every bitter memory. She was the one who made sure I was isolated, hungry, and broken. She speaks with a forced politeness that barely masks her contempt, delivering orders from the Duchess Belladonna as if I'm a servant. I can't believe I'm meeting her again. This woman tormented me for 10 years, and now I'm back at the very beginning of that nightmare. I remember the suffering. I remember the way they looked down on me, mocking my every attempt to find a place in this family. My heart thumps louder. The trauma isn't just a memory, it's a living thing inside me, clawing to get out. I can still see the faces of those who watched me die, the ones who told me to just give up and disappear. The flash of past trauma is blinding, but beneath the fear, a new spark begins to flicker. I've regretted things enough. I spent a whole lifetime being scared, and where did it lead me? To a cold death in a lonely tower. I won't be that girl anymore. This is a rare chance, a second life, and I won't waste it trembling in front of a maid. I straighten my back, my gaze hardening. When I ask her why the Duke isn't coming tonight, I make sure my voice doesn't shake. Grace flinches, startled by the sudden change in my demeanor. She wasn't expecting me to speak up, let alone with such authority. She tells me he's gone to defeat monsters at the border. It's the same excuse I heard the first time, a minor wave he used to avoid me. It's even more ridiculous the second time around. He's running away from his own wedding night, leaving me to the wolves. I know now that his absence is what allowed the Duchess to seize control of my life. If I let him leave tonight, I'm finished. I have to stop him. I have to change the course of this night before the cycle of abuse begins all over again. The realization hits me with a clarity I never had before. Karlak spent the next 10 years outside the towers, leaving me defenseless. Because of his absence, I never received the recognition I needed to survive. I was just a ghost in his castle. I slide my chair back and stand. I tell Grace that I need to meet the Duke personally. She looks at me as if I've lost my mind. When she tries to interrupt with more excuses about his preparations, I cut her off. I am the lady of this house now. I tell her it's my duty to encourage the knights before they leave on such a dangerous journey. It's a move she can't openly refuse. She swallows hard, her eyes darting around the room. She can't understand how the trembling girl from moments ago has vanished. Reluctantly, she bows her head. She realizes that, for today at least, she has no choice but to lead me to him. I manage a small, cold smile. The game has changed, and Grace is the first one to realize it. The click-clack of my heels on the marble floor sounds like a countdown. Every step is a move toward a future I intend to rewrite. I used to be so sick of this place, of these walls that felt like a prison, but looking at them now, I see opportunity. I remember when this castle went up in flames. It was a tragedy then, but now it's a reminder that nothing is permanent. I keep my eyes forward, refusing to let the familiar surroundings dampen my resolve. I am not the same person who walked these halls before. Grace suddenly halts at the heavy wooden doors leading to the courtyard. The air outside is cold, matching the tension between us. She gestures toward the gate where the knights are gathered. The sound of horses and clanking armor fills the night air. She mutters under her breath about how tactless I am. She thinks I'm making a fool of myself by chasing a man who wants to leave. The door creaks open, and I step out into the moonlight. My heart is pounding, but my hands are steady. I can't believe I'm seeing him again. Carlex, the man who was my husband, my stranger, and eventually my judge. Even if he doesn't like me, I have nothing to be afraid of. I've already faced death. His coldness is nothing in comparison. He's speaking to his men, his voice low and commanding. He hasn't noticed me yet, his focus entirely on his departure. I stand there for a moment, just watching him. The moonlight catches the silver of his uniform, making him look like a hero from a story. He glances over, his blue eyes sharp and unforgiving. The moment our eyes meet, the world seems to go silent. Is he really the same man? He looks so different in this light, before the years of war and bitterness took their toll. He's Carlex Tolstoy, my husband, and right now he looks like a man who is desperately trying to be anywhere but here. He looks way too young. I met him for the first time 2 years after our marriage in my last life, but seeing him now, he's only 24. I have to remind myself that his face is a mask. He might be young, but he's still the man who abandoned me to a life of misery. I close my eyes for a second, pushing back the wave of emotions. I can't let him see how much this is affecting me. Get it together, Amber. Nothing has changed from the past yet. He is still the same cold, distant man he always was. I walk toward him, my dress rustling against the stone. The knights watch in silence as their new duchess approaches. I stop just a few feet away and offer a shallow bow. I tell him it's nice to meet him, my voice smooth and practiced. I introduce myself as Amber Telesto, his wife. I tell him I heard he was leaving and hurried over to send him off properly. He looks genuinely confused. The idea of me showing up to see him off clearly wasn't in his plans for the evening. Send me off? He repeats, his brow furrowing. He's searching my face for a motive, unable to believe I'm being sincere. He tells me there's no need for that, his voice as cold as the night air. He's already dismissing me, trying to end the conversation. But I don't move. I tell him it seems he was thinking of leaving the castle without even seeing his new wife. He stammers for a moment, caught off guard by my bluntness. It's the first time I've ever seen him lose his composure. The knights behind him are whispering now. They've never seen anyone talk to the Duke this way, let alone a woman they thought was a pushover. He looks flustered over such a small thing. Is it possible he's just as uncomfortable as I am? I tell myself not to be tricked. This is the man who let me rot. I have to stay focused on my goal. He remains silent, his gaze fixed on me. The air is thick with unspoken words and a decade of shared history he knows nothing about. Finally, he tells me to go ahead and say what I have to say. He's impatient, but at least he's listening. I look at him, the man who holds my future in his hands. I don't need his love, but I do need his presence. I take a deep breath and say the words that will change everything. Duke, don't go. His eyes reflect a flicker of something I never saw in my first life, genuine uncertainty. I can't let him walk away just yet, not when my entire future depends on what happens in these next few minutes. We move to a private room, the heavy silence between us a familiar ghost of our past mistakes. I sit across from the man who was once my greatest source of loneliness, determined to be more than just a shadow in his halls. My voice remains steady, even if my heart is racing. I need him to stay. I need him by my side to survive what's coming. I tell him there's no need for him to rush off to the monster wave in the East District. It's a calculated move, one he clearly doesn't expect. He flinches, caught off guard that I even know about the situation at the border. The cold Duke is finally showing a crack in his armor. I explain my research, masking the truth that my knowledge comes from the scars of a life I've already lived and lost. In my past life, being left alone on our first night was a wound that never truly healed. I won't let history repeat itself, so I make my stand. I point out that his personal presence isn't required. He has a squad of knights for a reason, and his place is here. He mumbles to himself, looking almost vulnerable. It's a side of Carlix I never knew existed in all our years together. I hold my breath, waiting for the cold dismissal I've grown so accustomed to over the years. I have to be blunt with him. I know he doesn't like me, and I know this marriage was nothing more than an obligation. We had no ceremony, and he didn't even come to our bedroom. We are strangers bound by a contract. But I deserve more than just a cold title. I deserve common courtesy. If I'm to adapt to life in this castle, I need him to stay and help me establish my place here. He hesitates, the tension in the room growing thick enough to choke on. Every second feels like an eternity. I stare him down, refusing to be the first one to blink or look away this time. I know how authoritarian the relationship between husband and wife is in the East. I've experienced the isolation firsthand. If I don't change the dynamic now, I'll never be able to change a thing in this house. My hands are trembling beneath the table, but I squeeze them tight. I need to persuade him, no matter what it takes. To my utter shock, he relents. He'll send the knights instead of going himself. I can barely contain the spark of hope in my chest. I can't believe it was actually that easy to reach him. He starts to leave, thinking our business is concluded, but I'm not finished yet. The real work starts now. There is one more crucial thing I need from him. I ask him to use formalities with me, to address me as an equal, not someone beneath him. In this conservative district, the way a husband speaks to his wife sets the tone for how the entire household views her. In my past life, his casual disregard was a signal for everyone else to treat me like a lesser being. If he speaks to me with honor, no one else in this castle will dare to look down on me again. He flinches again, the request clearly hitting a nerve he wasn't prepared for. I prepare myself for a refusal. Perhaps I push too far, too fast for a man like him. I try to hide my disappointment. I suppose this was one request he couldn't easily grant. Things here are so different from the West, and I'm realizing just how uphill this battle is going to be. He pauses, his face shadowed, as he carefully considers my words. Then he mumbles it, the words I've waited a lifetime to hear him say. He agrees to it. He's actually going to do it. My heart nearly stops in my chest. I'm stunned. He's going to grant me the respect I never had in our first marriage. Outside, the servants are already whispering, wondering what could possibly be keeping us inside for so long. One maid in particular is eager to report my supposed failure to Belladonna, the woman who truly controls this castle. The doors swing open, and the atmosphere in the courtyard changes instantly as we step out together. Carlax commands the attention of every knight and servant present. His voice rings out, announcing to the entire troop that he will not be going on the trip this time. A shocked murmur ripples through the crowd. This is completely unheard of for the Duke. He delegates the mission to his commander, choosing to stay behind for his wife. Then he turns to me, right in front of everyone. He tells me to go and get some rest, addressing me with the formal respect of a true duchess. "I'll see you in the morning, my lady." I can see the shock and confusion on the faces of the staff. The power dynamic is shifting right before their eyes. I retreat to my room, the sound of the heavy doors closing behind me echoing the weight of this small victory. I collapse against the door, finally letting the adrenaline and the fear fade away. He really did it. He used formalities. He stayed for me. My mind is spinning with questions. He's definitely Carlex, Talisto, but he's behaving like a man I never knew. How can he be so different this time? I shake my head. I can't let myself get distracted by his kindness. Not yet. I have to focus on securing my spot in this castle, which is still dominated by people loyal to Belladonna. The first light of dawn begins to creep through the windows, marking the start of a new day and a new life. I know the maids will be out soon. They'll be expecting the same weak girl they've always known. Good, let them come. It's time to face my enemies. Today, I start taking back my home, and Belladonna won't know what hit her. In the cold isolation of my past life, the nights felt eternal, a hollow echo of a woman who had already given up. Every stitch I made, every heartbeat I counted, was just a reminder of the silence that filled this castle. But there was one light in that darkness, a face I could never forget, even after death. Genia was more than just a maid. She was the only soul who didn't look at me with pity or scorn. She would bring me what little she had, a small kindness that felt like a lifeline in a house that wanted me broken. I carried the guilt of her suffering for a lifetime, knowing she was punished for my sake. Back then, I blamed myself for the Duke's distance, for every shadow that haunted these halls. She was the one who tried to bridge the gap, making excuses for a man who wouldn't even look at me. Even when my heart was heavy with the weight of his absence and the Emperor's decrees, she was the only one who stayed to catch the tears I couldn't hide from the rest of the world. That's why I have to find her now, before the cycle of pain can start all over again. I won't let her be a victim of my story this time. I will be the one to protect her. Among the sea of busy faces in the courtyard, I search for the one heartbeat that matters. There, I found her. My heart leaps at the sight of her, so young and innocent, just as I remembered. But the air suddenly turns cold, a familiar chill that signals a storm is coming. I won't let her be a victim of my story this time. I will be the one to protect her. Among the sea of busy faces in the courtyard, I search for the one heartbeat that matters. There, I found her. My heart leaps at the sight of her, so young and innocent, just as I remembered. But the air suddenly turns cold, a familiar chill that signals a storm is coming. A voice cuts through the morning air, sharp and filled with a poison I know all too well. Belladonna, the woman who made my first life a living nightmare, has arrived. She stands there like a queen of a ruined kingdom, demanding obedience from everyone in her sight. Her eyes are already scanning the area, looking for a weakness to exploit or a spirit to crush. She assumes I'm just another girl lost in the garden, someone beneath her notice and her name. The audacity of her entrance is matched only by her ignorance of who is standing before her. She claims her word is law in a castle that isn't hers to rule, and she expects everyone to tremble. I'll let her have her moment of arrogance. It will only make her eventual fall more satisfying. She looks at me as if I'm nothing more than a freshly hired maid, waiting for my fear to show. But I am Amber Telesto, and I am the lady of this house now. I'm not that timid girl anymore. The shock that flickers in her eyes is the first payment on a very long debt I intend to collect. I offer her a smile, one that is as sharp as any blade I could carry. Oh, you've made a mistake, mother-in-law, a very big one. She tries to recover her poise, but the ground beneath her feet is already shifting. I remember everything, especially how she took my dowry as if it were her own to spend. Her composure is starting to crack, and she can't stand that I'm the one holding the hammer. She's boiling under that elegant facade, furious that a timid creature would dare to speak up. Bold? No, I'm just finished being a doormat for this family's greed. She thinks I'm just acting tough to try and adapt to a strange place. Let her think what she wants. She has no idea how deep this transformation goes. She talks of the laws of the East as if they justify her theft of my future, claiming she spent my dowry on the estate when we both know it went to her jewelry box. The lie is as transparent as the pearls around her neck, and I won't let it pass. She tells me not to feel bad about the luxuries she stole, as if she's doing me a favor. Most of the things I enjoyed are gone, and she expects me to accept this quietly? To insult me in front of the entire staff? She really hasn't changed a bit. My hands clench, but I won't give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose my temper. I see your intentions clearly, and I understand exactly what kind of game you're playing. If the law says my assets belong to my husband, then your opinion comes after his. The silence that follows is deafening. I've just stripped away her only defense. I'm not the girl who cried in the dark anymore. I'm the one setting the terms. The higher law is quite clear, and it doesn't leave any room for your greed. Every word is a strike against her influence, and she can feel the power slipping away. The sound of her fan snapping shut is the sound of her losing her final grip on control. She laughs to hide her panic, but we both know she's been cornered by her own rules. She tries to turn the staff against me to humiliate the narrow-minded Westerner. But when her words fail, she resorts to the only thing she knows: violence. She strikes out at Genia, the easiest target in her path, just like she did before. Genia falls, and for a second, I see the past repeating itself right before my eyes. I won't let it happen. I rush to her side, shielding her from the woman who wants her broken. Belladonna's rage is a pathetic display of a dying power, and I won't move an inch. She threatens me with a whip, forgetting that I am no longer her victim. Stop. The word is a command, and the fire in my eyes tells her I mean it. She thinks she can rule through fear, but she's just a ghost of a nightmare I've already survived. I look her in the eye and show her what real strength looks like, and she can't stand it. I will defy her for every soul she's crushed, and I will protect this girl with everything I have. She promises I'll regret this, but her voice is trembling more than mine ever will. Then, the world goes still as a long shadow falls across the courtyard stone. The one person who can end this confrontation stands before us, his presence overwhelming. Carlax is home, and he's seeing his family's true colors for the very first time. Belladonna's eyes go wide as she swings around, her fake, practiced smile barely masking the shock of seeing Carlax standing right there. Carlax doesn't waste time with pleasantries. His voice is a low, dangerous rumble as he demands to know exactly what he just walked into. Belladonna stammers, the sweat starting to bead on her forehead as she realizes her casual cruelty had an audience. She tries to play it off as a simple mother-in-law spat, a minor disagreement about a dowry that she clearly feels entitled to. Amber watches them, her hands clenched tight. The familiar sting of being belittled in her own home is still so fresh. She wonders why he had to show up now. In her past life, his presence never brought her peace, only more complications. Amber knows the history. Carlix has never gone against his father, and Belladonna was always the old Duke's favorite. She stares at him, waiting for the inevitable rebuke, waiting for him to tell her to just be quiet and obey. If he would just stay silent, it would be a mercy. Anything he says now will likely only cut her deeper. Carlix repeats the word dowry as if it's a foreign concept, his eyes narrowing on Belladonna. Belladonna tries to justify her theft, claiming the East District needed the funds and Amber simply wouldn't understand the complexity of the situation. The temperature in the garden drops as Carlix speaks. He doesn't care about the district. He cares that she laid hands on his wife's property. A visible shudder runs through Belladonna. She's never seen this side of him, this protective, icy fury. She tries to interject, to explain herself further, but he cuts her off before she can even finish his name. He makes it clear that the conversation is over. He needs to speak with his wife, and he needs to do it now. Belladonna is indignant, her face twisting as she tries to claim this is a private matter between women, a dynamic he shouldn't interfere with. She warns him not to make her a laughingstock, but her desperation is starting to show as he turns his back on her. In a move that shocks everyone present, the Duke extends his hand to Amber, his voice softening just a fraction as he asks her to rise. Belladonna is aghast. The lack of respect, the breaking of the social order she spent years building, is crumbling before her eyes. Amber is frozen. This isn't the man she remembers. This isn't how this scene played out in the world that ended. She searches his face for a sign of a trick, a hidden motive for this sudden display of chivalry. His expression remains curt and indifferent, the same mask he's always worn, which only makes his actions more confusing. As she looks at him, a memory flashes through her mind, a vision of the man he became. In the future she escaped, his face was a roadmap of trauma, covered in the jagged scars of a brutal war. In her past life, those scars were all she saw. Each one seemed to represent another layer of ice he built around his heart. She remembers the sight of his back, marred and broken, a testament to the horrors he endured on the battlefield. He was a beast back then, a man who had seen too much and felt too little, leaving her alone in the cold. But now, he is unmarred, he is whole. And for the first time, Amber realizes the war hasn't taken its toll yet. The realization pulls her back to the present. She remembers her maid, the only one who has truly been on her side. A young man approaches, offering to take the injured girl to get the medical attention she desperately needs. Carlix gives a sharp nod, directing them away. He is efficient, commanding, and still utterly unreadable. Amber watches them leave, feeling a sudden surge of vulnerability as she is left alone with her husband. She hesitates, her instincts screaming at her to run, but there is nowhere to go in this castle that he doesn't own. He turns to her, his gaze heavy. He has things to say, words that feel like they've been trapped behind his teeth for a long time. The silence in the room is suffocating as they face each other, the weight of a lifetime of misunderstandings sitting between them. Carlix reminds her that he is the owner of this castle. If she needs something, if she is being wronged, she should be telling him. Amber sighs, the irony of his request almost too much to bear. Tell him her requests, as if he would ever listen. She tells him plainly that she could never make a request of him. The trust is simply not there, and his flinch shows he knows why. He looks genuinely perplexed, as if he can't fathom why his own wife would treat him like a stranger. Amber reminds herself that this version of Carlix doesn't know about their history. He doesn't know the years of neglect he's already given her. He shifts the subject, stating firmly that he will ensure her entire dowry is returned to her immediately. Amber is stunned. She didn't think he would actually take a side, let alone hers, against his own family's interests. He hesitates, adding that it would be difficult for her to live in the East without her own funds, his voice sounding almost concerned. The disbelief is written all over Amber's face. She can't reconcile this man with the one who let her wither away in silence. A wave of bitterness washes over her. She assumes he thinks she's just like Belladonna, obsessed with luxuries and status symbols. She stands up abruptly, the conversation over as far as she's concerned. She has to get away before she says something she'll regret. Carlix tries to stop her, asking how the maid got hurt, but Amber is already halfway to the door. Her response is short and cold. She won't give him the satisfaction of her vulnerability, not today and maybe not ever. He reaches out as she turns to leave, his hand hanging in the air as she walks away without looking back. The door slams shut, a final, punctuating sound that leaves the Duke alone in the silence of his own grand room. He listens to the sound of her footsteps fading down the hall, each click of her heels sounding like a rejection. Carlix collapses into his chair with a heavy sigh, the weight of his own failure pressing down on his shoulders. He had gone looking for her because she missed breakfast, a small gesture of care that went completely unnoticed. Her words haunt him. She doesn't trust him, and he has no idea how to bridge the canyon that has opened up between them. He stares into the middle distance, his mind drifting back to the beginning, to the moment they became husband and wife. He remembers the dawn of their wedding day, the light breaking over the horizon as they prepared to bind their lives together. Amber had been so radiant, so ethereal in her white gown, a vision that felt almost too good to be true. He remembers the way his heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic rhythm he couldn't control. Back then, he felt a spark of hope, a desire to be the man she deserved, despite the coldness he projected to the world. But as he looks at the castle around him, he wonders if that hope was just a dream, and if they are both doomed to stay lost in the dark. So, we're taking a trip down memory lane to a few years ago, and let me tell you, things were looking rough for our Duke. He's at the palace, basically begging for a minute with the Emperor, but the guy won't even give him the time of day. Denied. Khalees is absolutely floored. Like, excuse me? He didn't come all this way just to be snubbed at the front door. He's trying to push past the guards because he's desperate, but they're just like, back off, buddy. This is what the big boss wants. Now beat it. You can see the panic in his eyes. He's literally shouting for His Majesty, trying to explain that the East is basically a monster buffet right now, and they need help, like yesterday. He's literally pouring his heart out, but it's like talking to a brick wall. The desperation is just heartbreak. And just like that, he's forced to walk away. The silence in that hallway, you can practically feel the weight of defeat on his shoulders with every step. He's so frustrated he literally slams his fist against the wall. I mean, can you blame him? He's trying to save his people and he's getting zero support. He's cursing under his breath, feeling totally powerless. This is the heavy crown he's been carrying long before Amber even entered the picture. Now, get this. Back in the day, the East District was a total paradise. We're talking vineyards for days, super lush and just beautiful. But then, the monster waves hit, famine followed, and nobody even knows why. It went from vacation goals to a total desolate wasteland real quick. And the worst part? The Emperor did not care at all. He treated the East like a pawn he was ready to sacrifice in a game of chess. The real tea is that the Emperor is actually terrified. He's scared of the military power the House of Talisto holds. It's totally a keep your enemies closer situation, except he's just being a jerk instead. But Khalees is just a kid here, thinking, hey, we don't even want the throne. We're just trying to survive. His father looks so weary, doesn't he? He knows the truth. Power makes people paranoid, and they're the ones paying the price for it. The Emperor is playing a dangerous game, moving pieces around without a single thought for the lives he's ruining. Even as a young boy, Callus could see it. They were being treated like a threat just because they were strong enough to protect themselves. So they had to swallow their pride and bow down to the imperial family just to get the tiniest bit of help. It's honestly so degrading. Callus is just standing there, wondering how much longer they have to live like this. He's already so tired of the politics and the suffering. Looking out at the cracked, dry earth, it's like he's looking at his own future, just empty and hopeless. He's convinced they're just waiting for complete defeat. Talk about a dark headspace to be in. But then a breeze blows through, carrying the scent of flowers, and everything changes. Spring has arrived, and for a second, the gloom lifts. He hears laughter nearby and turns to see what's going on. And there she is, Lady Amber, right in the middle of a garden, looking like a literal dream. Everyone is fawning over her because she's just that stunning. Callus is just frozen. He can't even look away. It's like he's seeing color for the first time in his life. She's so bright and happy, surrounded by flowers that match her hair. She's the complete opposite of the dusty, gray world he's used to. His heart starts doing that thump-thump thing. He's totally smitten, and he doesn't even know her name yet. I mean, look at her. She's glowing. It's like a scene straight out of a romance novel, and Callus is the main lead who just got hit by lightning. He's watching her from the balcony, totally mesmerized. He's never seen anything so pretty in his entire life. Then he hears the gossip. Is that Amber Riarte, the rich merchant's daughter? The commoners are all buzzing about her family's insane wealth. Callus listens to them talk, and you can see the realization hitting him. She's not just beautiful, she's powerful in a way he isn't. He turns away, thinking she's from a completely different world, like she's the sun and he's just a shadow in the east. Flash forward to winter, and things have taken a major turn. The castle is covered in snow, and the mood is just as cold. Callus is looking at a document, and he can't believe his eyes. His marriage partner is Amber Riarte, the girl from the garden? He's totally shook. He never thought their paths would actually cross like this. He's stressing out, wondering what the Emperor is thinking. Is this a gift or some kind of weird trap? But more importantly, he's worried he can't provide for her. He's looking at his empty coffers, thinking he can't even afford the lace on her dress. The struggle is real. And then the day comes. The carriage pulls up, and the clunk of the wheels sounds like a countdown to his doom. Amber steps out, and she looks so nervous. She's clutching her chest, looking around at this cold, strange place. My poor girl is terrified. Callus is just standing there, gulping. He wants to say something, but he's so intimidated by her elegance and his own lack of resources. She glances at him, then quickly turns away. The awkwardness, it is off the charts. They're both just two strangers forced into a marriage they don't understand. He decides right then that he has to go to battle. He thinks if he can just get some monster cores to sell, he can actually support her and keep her in the lifestyle she's used to. He's literally clenching his fist, feeling so guilty that she has to live off her own dowry. His pride is taking a major hit here. He's walking away again, staring into the dark, wondering if he'll ever truly be able to take care of her. He feels like a failure before they've even started. Back in the present, he's still beating himself up. He thinks Amber hates him, and honestly, he hates himself for how he's handled everything. Major facepalm moment, dude. Meanwhile, Amber is being a total saint. She's checking on Jenya, the maid who got hurt, and the doctor says she'll be fine after some rest. Phew! Amber is so relieved she lets out a huge sigh. You can see how much she actually cares about the people working for her. She's even helping out with the chores, wringing out towels like a pro. She's not just a pretty face, she's getting her hands dirty. She asks Jenya to look up, and the poor girl is so startled. She's not used to a noble being this attentive. Jenya is literally shaking, asking why Amber is being so nice to a lowly person. It's so sad that she thinks so little of herself, but Amber just gives her the sweetest smile and says, "You protected me. How could I not be thankful?" Ah, my heart. She's insisting on showing her gratitude, but Jenya is still totally flustered and mumbling. It's honestly the cutest interaction. Jenya and the other maids are bowing like crazy, calling her Little Mistress. They are officially obsessed with her kindness. But Amber is feeling a bit down. She's thinking about how she's only the Little Mistress and doesn't have the full influence yet because of Belladonna. It's disheartening, but she's not giving up. She's just quietly fiddling with her cloth, thinking about her place in this castle. She wants to do more, but it's an uphill battle. Jenya speaks up again, looking all nervous. She's about to drop some truth on Amber, and you can tell she's overstepping her boundaries, but she just has to say it. She tells Amber that she actually likes that she's from the West. Amber is like, wait, what? Really? She's totally confused. Why would being from the West, the place everyone in the East seems to resent, be a good thing? Jenya explains that it's not just her. All the laundry maids were hoping the Duke's wife would be from a foreign land. They were all rooting for her. Amber is leaning in, totally intrigued now. She's like, okay, spill the tea. Why were you all hoping for someone like me? Jenya's heart is racing. You can practically hear the thump-thump from here. She's about to say something big. She looks at Amber with so much hope in her eyes and says, they thought if someone came from the West, they might actually be able to change the Duke's castle. Amber is stunned. She didn't realize she was the beacon of hope everyone was waiting for. This is the moment she realizes she has a real purpose here, real mission. Duchess Belladonna is basically the queen of this castle, and let's be real, absolutely nothing happens in the East without her knowing about it. She's got her eyes everywhere. Poor Jenya is visibly shaking. Just the mention of the Duchess is enough to make anyone in this place want to curl up and hide. Our girl is starting to realize that the Duchess isn't exactly winning any popularity contests. She's not someone people follow out of loyalty. It's all fear. But the real question is, why is Jenya choosing this exact moment to spill all this to her? There's definitely something more going on. Then, out of nowhere, Jenya literally drops to the floor. She's begging to be taken under her wing. Talk about a dramatic plea for help. She actually believes that our girl is the only one who can change the destiny of this entire castle. No pressure, right? It hits her hard. She can feel her heart thumping because this is the first time someone has truly looked at her with hope. She knows it's because she's acting completely different than she did in her past life. She's finally standing her ground. In her past life, she was just a shadow of herself, crying alone while everything around her crumbled. But that version of her is officially dead and buried. She reaches out and tells Jenya to stand up. This isn't just a mistress and a maid anymore. This is the start of a real alliance. Jenya is practically in tears. You can tell she's been waiting so long for someone to finally give her a chance. That smile says it all. She's determined to protect the people who believe in her this time around. She helps Jenya up, promising herself that she will definitely succeed. Failure is not an option in this life. The sun is out and the sky is clear, but we all know that in this castle, the weather is the only thing that's predictable. First things first, she needs to fuel up. You can't plot a revolution or handle a moody duke on an empty stomach. But of course, as soon as she steps into the dining room, she hears those heavy footsteps. She knows exactly who it is. It's Carlix! And honestly, he looks just as caught off guard as she does. The tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a butter knife. She's totally confused. Since when does he eat his meals here? This is definitely a change from the usual routine. She can't help but wonder why they keep crossing paths so often lately. It's like the universe is forcing them into the same room. Then the food starts arriving and oh my god, it looks incredible. The rattle of the plates is like music to her ears. But then she notices more servants coming in and more. Wait, how much food did they actually prepare? She's staring at this absolute feast like, is there a secret party I wasn't invited to? This is way too much for just 2 people. The chef is all smiles, saying he prepared a perfect luncheon. But Carlix looks like he wants to disappear. He specifically asked to eat alone. The chef is sweating bullets now, explaining that since the Duke asked for special care, he naturally assumed they were dining together. Carlix is giving him the ultimate death glare. The staff is literally scampering away to avoid the fallout. When the Duke is annoyed, you do not want to be in the splash zone. So now she's sitting there looking at this massive spread, wondering if this whole feast was actually meant just for her. Carlix is trying so hard to act like everything is normal, but the awkward silence is deafening. This is definitely more than just married couple duty. She takes a bite, and her eyes practically light up. It's delicious. Maybe this awkward lunch isn't so bad after all. She's just happily munching away, totally lost in the flavors, while Carlix watches her with that unreadable expression of his. Is he actually softening up? He looks almost peaceful watching her eat. It's a total 180 from his usual cold self. Plate cleared. She did not leave a single crumb. When she says she's hungry, she really means it. She is beyond satisfied. Even in her past life, she never experienced this kind of luxury in the East. She's feeling pretty spoiled right now. She steals a quick glance at him. He definitely went through all this trouble on purpose, didn't he? He's trying in his own weird way. He's just sitting there with his wine, looking all brooding and handsome. It's like he's waiting for her to say something. She finally decides to break the ice. She can't just sit there in silence after he provided such an insane meal. She acknowledges the extra care he put into this. It's a small step, but it feels like a huge breakthrough for them. And all he says is a simple, "Thank you." Seriously? That's all we get after all that drama with the chef? She's just staring at him like, are you for real right now? The man is a total mystery. The silence is back, and it's getting embarrassing. She's overthinking every second of this. Her heart starts doing that annoying thumping thing again. Why is he making her feel so flustered just by sitting there? Wait, is he blushing? Oh my God, the cold Duke is actually turning red. This is the highlight of my day. He starts chugging his wine like he's trying to drown his embarrassment. He is definitely not as cool as he tries to act. Now he's coughing and sputtering. She's genuinely worried he's going to choke. Someone get this man some water. She's watching him with a mix of concern and complete confusion. Is this really the same guy from her memory? He finally catches his breath and tries to regain some dignity. He's clearly trying to change the subject to something professional. He mentions that the squad is heading out tomorrow to deal with some monsters. Back to reality, I guess. She knows this is common in the East, and usually their knights can handle it. But something about this feels different this time. The real danger isn't just monsters, it's the looming war with the Kale Kingdom. That's the real storm on the horizon. In her past, that war was the beginning of the end. It was the moment the House of Callisto started its tragic fall from grace. They were forced into it by an imperial decree they couldn't ignore. It was a trap they didn't see coming until it was too late. If they want to survive the aftermath this time, they have to become stronger. They can't just wait for the disaster to happen. She offers to help, but he immediately shuts her down. He tells her not to concern herself with the matters of the East. She's like, "Excuse me?" She's not just some decoration in this castle, and she's not about to let him push her aside. He just wants her to stay safely tucked away inside the castle walls. He has no idea who he's actually dealing with. She stands up with total authority. She's about to challenge everything he thinks he knows about her. She looks him right in the eye and asks if he'll still say that once she proves she can save the entire East District. Mic drop. She is officially done being a damsel in distress. I literally just dropped the biggest bombshell ever. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, I can solve the food shortage in the East. Mic drop. And Carlex is just sitting there like, wait, what did you just say? He's totally caught off guard by my sudden confidence. He tries to get all serious, turning away and telling me the East's problems are way deeper than just a normal famine. Like, I don't already know? Oh, honey, believe me, I know. I have the memories of a whole other life to prove it. The land is basically a wasteland. No rain for 50 years and everything's just falling into ruins. It's heartbreaking, really. He's literally stressing out because nobody has been able to figure out why this is happening. The cause is a complete mystery to everyone but me. I know I sound like I've totally lost it, but I need him to listen. Just give me a chance to explain. In my past life, they didn't even start looking for a real solution until 8 years from now. That's 8 more years of suffering. But with what I know now, I can fast forward this whole process and save everyone before things become unsalvageable. Everything depends on meeting one specific person. As long as I can find her, we have a fighting chance. And of course, he interrupts me. He's all like, I'll take care of the East. Seriously, let me finish. He basically tells me there's no need for me to step up. Sir, do you realize how much I'm trying to help you right now? Ugh, I am fuming. You can literally see the anger clenching inside me. I am not having this condescending attitude. I had to ask him, does he think I'm just here for decoration? Like I'm just some pretty statue to look at? I'm not a doll. I'm a human being. I stood my ground and told him exactly how I felt. I told him straight to his face, I am not some trophy to be tucked away in a display case while he does all the work. That actually got a reaction. He slams the table and insists he'd never think of me that way. He sounds genuinely shocked. He's clenching his fist so hard. The tension in this room is actually insane right now. I think I finally got through to him. He finally admits he just wanted me to live a comfortable life, away from the misery of the East. He was actually trying to protect me this whole time. Wait, what? I was totally not expecting him to say that. My brain is literally buffering. He cared? It's a lot to take in. All those years I thought he was cold, he was actually just trying to spare me the pain. He lets out this huge sigh, looking like he's finally letting his guard down just a tiny bit. Look at him gulping. My cold husband is actually feeling things. He's visibly nervous now. I had to remind him, I'm here as the Duchess of Telesto. I'm his wife, and I want to do my part. He looks away, and honestly, the vibe has shifted so much. The ice is starting to melt, and it's getting floral. So I ask him again, a bit softer this time. I'm asking him for a favor, wife to husband. I need him to send an official invitation to the house of Freya. I have to meet the Count's daughter. And then he turns away, but is he blushing? Carlix is actually turning red. I am screaming. He brings up how I once said I'd never ask him for anything. Oh, he's definitely taking this request to heart. I'm just standing there like, is he upset? Why is he reacting like this? This is not the Carlix I remember from before. I literally have zero memory of saying I'd never trust him. Like, girl, did I really say that? My past life trauma is real. The silence is so loud. We're just staring at each other across this giant empty table. He finally facepalms and tells me to just forget he said anything. Talk about a major mood swing. He agrees. He says he'll be more than happy to write the invitation. That's a huge win for me. But he's still curious. He wants to know what business I could possibly have with Count Freya's daughter. I can't help but grin. I'm finally getting exactly what I need to start my plan. I told him she's the most important clue to solving the famine. I have to keep some secrets for now, though. Wait, his heart is going thump thump? Is he falling for me right now? This was not in the script. Look at that blush. He is absolutely smitten, and he doesn't even know how to handle these feelings. I decide to keep things professional and tell him I'll just send future requests through a servant to save him trouble. I figured it would be more comfortable for both of us since he's always so busy. I was trying to be helpful. Wrong. He clenches his jaw and looks totally dejected. Girl, I think I just accidentally broke his heart. I just give him a polite little smile, totally oblivious to the fact that he actually wanted more direct contact. He just gives me this short, grumpy, let's do so, and the move goes totally dark again. Men are such a mystery. I am literally so confused. Why did the vibe just die? I was just trying to be respectful of his time. I head back to my room and slam the door. I need to get my head back in the game and focus on the mission. I flop into my chair with a huge sigh. Since when did Carlix make faces like that? He was a stone-cold wall in my past life. Seriously, look at that face. That is a man who is clearly going through it. I never saw this side of him before. Back then, we didn't even look at each other properly. I always felt like everything was my fault and lived in fear. But whatever, let's not dwell on that. At least he's listening to me now. That's one major hurdle clear. Now it's time for the next item on my Save the Duchy checklist, my dowry. I need to see what assets I have. I start unrolling the scrolls. I need to be smart about how I use my wealth if I'm going to make a difference here. Jewels are nice, but they don't grow food. I need to figure out how to put these to better use for the East. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. I put my thoughts aside for a second and tell them to come in. Enter Heinley Jasper, the head butler. This man is the definition of old-school loyalty and class. This man has served 3 generations. He's so dedicated, he didn't even leave when the family was accused of treason. He's a real one. In my past life, he always seemed to be observing me, comparing me to that snake, Belladonna. He never really took a side, though. But things are going to be so different this time around. I'm going to earn his respect and make him an ally. I give him a confident, warm smile. It's time to show this household that there's a new duchess in town and she means business. So, Amber calls in Heinrich because it's time to get down to business and she is not playing around. She drops the absolute bombshell that she wants her entire dowry, every single jewel, to be used for the territory. Heinrich is literally gasping for air. The entirety of the dowry? Does she even realize how much wealth that is? But Amber is as cool as a cucumber. She's ready to have a serious discussion about where this money is going. Heinrich is hesitating, and you can see the internal struggle on his face. He's probably wondering if this is some kind of trick. Amber knows exactly what he's thinking. She's the new girl here, and trust isn't something you just get on day one. Plus, she's fully aware of the massive cultural divide between the East and the West. She calls it out directly. He doesn't trust her because of where she's from, and she's not going to pretend otherwise. See, the empire is basically split. The West is all about that new money and open-minded vibe. The nobles there made their fortunes in business, they're loud, they're fun, and they don't care about old-school rules. But the East, they are conservative with a capital C. They look at the Westerners like they're total barbarians. In her past life, Amber was absolutely shredded by these stereotypes. People whispered that she was just some extravagant girl with no substance, but she's proving them all wrong. This isn't about being a hero or loving the East. She saw the reality on her way to the castle, ruined lands, and people literally starving to death. She tells him straight up, she values lives more than her own lavish lifestyle, period. Heinrich is starting to see that she's the real deal, but he has to give her the cold, hard number. If they sell everything, we're talking 5 million stars. That is a staggering amount of money. Heinrich is actually gulping. 5 million stars just to save the serfs? He's never seen anything like this. Amber just gives him this knowing, gentle smile. She's got him right where she wants him. She extends her hand, basically asking him, "Are you with me or not?" And just like that, Heinrich is sold. He bows down, ready to take orders from his new duchess. They dive right into the logistics. Amber isn't just throwing money at the problem. She has a plan. She's got a list, she's checking it twice, and she looks like an absolute boss while doing it. Hours pass as they iron out the details of how to save the duchy from the brink of collapse. The paperwork is piling up, but Amber's focus is razor sharp. She points out the areas that need the most help. She's settling things that have been ignored for years. But wait, there's more. She's not finished yet. She's ordering food, clothes, blankets, and even animal fat to keep everyone warm. She's thought of everything. She notices Heinrich staring at her and gets a little self-conscious. Is something wrong? He's just floored. He tells her she's incredibly skilled, and honestly, he's probably a little intimidated. Amber just shrugs it off. This is her home now, so obviously she did her homework before arriving. Heinrich realizes he was totally wrong to worry about her being too young or inexperienced. While he's admiring her, Amber is already moving on to the next crisis. There's no rest for the driven. Heinrich can't help but smile. All his doubts completely gone. The sun starts to set, and the castle is bathed in this beautiful orange light, but the mood is getting heavy. Everything is being handled, but there's one major issue that's still eating at her. Count Nasto. He's a total snake who's been overcharging them and making shady deals. Heinrich shakes his head. In this area, Nasto is the only game in town for weapons. They're stuck. Amber goes quiet. She knows that if they try to go elsewhere, Nasto will just interfere and make things worse. But she knows the future. She knows wars are coming, and they can't go into battle with worn-out gear. If they don't get new weapons, the kingdom is doomed. She's searching her memories for a solution. She remembers the drama from her past life, the way her father always prioritized her sister, Natasha. The pain of being the second choice still stings, even now. She remembers the arguments and the heartbreak of never feeling like she was enough. She had to run away from that life, and she's not going back to being that weak girl. She sighs, realizing she has to find a deal that bypasses Nasto's influence entirely. It's going to be a long shot, but it's unavoidable. She picks up her pen and starts to write. The sound of her pen scratching against the paper fills the room late into the night. She's determined to save this place. Finally, the moon is high over the castle and the day's work is done. Amber is absolutely exhausted. She's walking to her room, just dreaming of her bed. She's reflecting on how crazy it is to be back in time, but the reality of the work ahead is really hitting her. Suddenly, a cold breeze hits her. Why on earth is her window open? She looks over at the balcony, and there's a shadow sitting there in the moonlight. Her heart skips a beat. She wasn't expecting anyone to be in her room at this hour. The curtains flutter, revealing the man sitting on the ledge, looking like a total brooding main character. It's the Duke. Khalees is just hanging out on her balcony in his shirt? Amber is stunned. What is he doing here? The door clicks shut and the tension in this room is already off the charts. You can just feel the drama brewing in the air tonight. Amber literally flinches as Calix walks toward her. I mean, can you blame her? The man is walking around looking like a whole snack, but with the coldest vibes ever. He doesn't even say hello, he just grabs the candle right out of her hand. Okay, rude, but also, why is he being so assertive all of a sudden? He sets it down and they just stand there in the dim light. It is so awkward, I can barely breathe. Someone say something, please. Then he drops the bomb. He asks her if she was waiting for him. Wait, is he actually interested in her schedule now? He just stares at her with those piercing blue eyes, waiting for an answer. The silence is loud, girl, extremely loud. Amber is panicking internally. She's literally thinking, why isn't he responding? Why is he just staring at me like that? He finally turns to face her fully, and you just know whatever comes out of his mouth next is going to be a game changer. And then he says it. Yes, he was waiting for her. He even calls her wife. My jaw is on the floor. Who is this man, and what did he do with the old Calix? Amber is absolutely stunned. She can't even find her words. Her heart is probably doing gymnastics right now. He tells her there's no need to wait up in the future and to just sleep first. Is he being considerate? I'm suspicious. Amber just flops onto the bed, totally overwhelmed. She's thinking, wait, didn't he originally want them to live completely separate lives? She steals a glance at him from the pillows. She's trying to figure out his angle because this change of heart is way too sudden. But then she catches a good look at him and her heart starts going ba-dump. Girl, same. He is way too handsome for his own good. Look at that sparkle in his eye. He's looking like a literal prince from a fairy tale. How is she supposed to stay mad at that? He is standing there looking like a total dream. If I were her, I'd be forgetting all about the past life drama for a second, too. Her heart is just thumping away. She's blushing so hard. The chemistry is finally starting to sizzle, and I am here for it. She gasps and has to turn away before she loses her cool completely. She is definitely feeling some type of way right now. She's literally telling herself to pull it together. She has to remind herself that this is Calyx, the same guy who was so cold before. She finally asks him if he's going to sleep. She's trying to keep things casual, but you can hear the nerves in her voice. And wait, is he blushing? He starts stuttering out a response. The big bad Duke is actually flustered. Amber remembers him saying he didn't want to share a bed. She's thinking, okay, I get it. The rejection is still on the table. She stands up and grabs her pillow, ready to head to the sofa. She's like, fine, if you don't want me here, I'm out. But he looks so confused. He calls out to her like he wasn't expecting her to actually leave. Talk about mixed signal. She drops her stuff on the small sofa with a thud. She is officially moving out of the big bed for the night. She curls up and just says, good night. She is shutting it down. If he wants distance, she's giving it to him. Amber lies there thinking about how this isn't their first night together, but in this life, everything feels so brand new. Then a thought hits her. She stops mid-thought and her eyes go wide. She just realized something huge. She realizes that for this version of Calyx, this is actually his first time in a situation like this. He's a total beginner. Look at him. He is blushing so hard he might actually combust. He is way more innocent than she realized. Amber decides to take charge. She asks him to sit down for a moment so they can actually talk like adults. He sits down, but he is so stiff he looks like a statue. The man is absolutely terrified of her right now. He lets out a huge sigh and stays totally tense. He is clearly not used to being this close to a woman, especially his wife. She tells him to just relax. She says they don't have to do anything difficult. She's trying to put him at ease, but he looks even more confused. She explains that if they just act the part tomorrow morning, everyone else will get the right idea. It's all about the optics, honey. She's basically telling him it's just a formality. She really just friend-zoned her own husband in the middle of their bedroom. Calyx's hand slides against the seat. He is definitely not liking where this conversation is going. You can see the frustration. Then he hits her with a question of his own. How does she know he doesn't want to sleep with her? Oh, he's challenging her now. Amber hesitates. She can't exactly tell him she knows because of her past life. She's backed into a corner here. She remembers how he literally went to war just to get away from her before. Those memories still sting. She tells him that, judging by the situation, it's obvious. And then she adds that she doesn't like it either. Ouch, that's gotta hurt. Calyx looks completely crushed. He literally says, I don't like it either. Wait, does he mean he does want to be with her? Amber stays firm, though. She's not letting him wiggle his way out of this without some serious explanation. He clenches his hand and asks the most heartbreaking question ever. Wife, do you not like me? My heart just broke for him. Amber just stares at him. This is the moment of truth. Is she going to be honest or keep her guard up? She gives a tiny nod and says, that's why. She is sticking to her guns. She is not making this easy for him. They just sit there in the silence. The gap between them on those chairs feels like a whole ocean right now. She stands up and ends the talk. She's like, okay, since we're done, I'm taking the bed because I'm tired. Queen energy. She climbs into the big bed and gets settled. She is done with the drama for one night and just wants some sleep. She pulls the covers all the way up, creating a literal wall between her and the rest of the room. As she lies there, she reminds herself of her mission. She's determined to protect the East and everyone living there this time around. She thinks about the future and the people she's responsible for. She's got a lot on her plate, and she can't let Calyx distract her. But most of all, she thinks about her child. She wants to see that child again more than anything in the world. She knows that in order to do that, she has to have a relationship with Calix, but it's just so complicated. She closes her eyes, trying to think everything through. She needs a solid plan if she's going to survive this marriage again. Finally, she starts to drift off. She's thinking that at the end of the day, a comfortable bed really is the best thing ever. Suddenly, there are footsteps. Someone is moving around in the dark. Is he actually coming over? Calix quietly climbs into the bed beside her. He's being so careful not to wake her up. Look at him, he's actually staying. Amber is fast asleep, totally unaware that her husband is inches away from her. She is out like a light. He just watches her sleep with the saddest, most longing look in his eyes. He is completely whipped, and he knows it. He lets out a heavy sigh and wonders if she only finds peace once she's away from him. This man is going through it, y'all.